I'm joined here today with Kenny Cross, who earned a unanimous decision victory on Dana White's Contender Series on August 18th. Kenny, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm feeling wonderful, man. I'm feeling like the number one fighter in the state, number 7 unsigned fighter in the world. Let's go, baby.
And how does it feel taking a guy's O, and does it have any impact on the win, or does it make it any sweeter in your opinion?
It's very sweet taking that O. I went into the fight expecting to beat a guy that's never lost before, and that's a task. That's a big task all in itself because, being undefeated, it holds a lot over your shoulder, but it also gives you that feeling of being just invincible, which is a false sense of confidence. And so that was actually one of the reasons why I knew I was going to win, was that he's never tasted defeat against her. So, yeah, I just planned on going in there and taking that O with homie regardless. So it's a huge win in my book, no matter what.
Of course. We know that Kevin Syler trains at American Top Team in Florida, and he's extremely dangerous on the ground. How are you able to overcome his grappling skills? Because for the most part of the fight, you were on top and getting the better of him in the grappling and the clinch exchanges.
Yeah, I saw his previous fights, and I saw him on top. I saw the submissions that he would win with, and I wasn't ever impressed with any of it. I think of him as a featherweight, so I knew if I put my body on him, I was going to be the bigger guy. And I'm a wrestler. No one's ever really got to see me show off the skill set of grappling because I just, as of late, I've been trying to stand up and bang. So, I went back to my roots for that fight. And I'm sure we'll get into the reasons of why I had to do what I did. But, I mean, his grappling, the technician he was, what they were saying of him being a specialist on the ground, I didn't feel like that. I felt like I was the specialist that night, and I took his O home, and I beat him at what he was good at. So
Do you believe that you were ever close to finishing that fight?
I think when I had that choke, if I would have got like another quarter inch suck under, and I really could have squeezed, I could have popped his head off for sure. But I never got that leverage, so I never went for it. I felt that it was there, but it wasn't there. So, no, not really.
How disappointing was it for you to not pick up the contract, unfortunately, but you were still able to get the win? So was it a feeling of mixed emotions after?
It was an eerie feeling. It was just so different because in every fight, every card that I've been on, I'm at least the most exciting fight of the night, or second if Cody Stamen was fighting above me. Like, I was always the most exciting fight of the night. So sitting in that winner's circle, being first up, being the first one to get rejected, bro, like, oh, it was like prom all over again, bro. I was sitting around all these cool people, and they had all this great energy, and I was sitting there. I had great energy because I just beat an undefeated guy that already won on the Contender Series show. I felt like I did a good job, like, with the circumstances of cutting weight twice, of not really knowing when I was going to fight, if I was going to fight, after the first 3 opponents fell through, coming back, doing it all over again. And then, really seeing my gas tank going and having to change up the game plan and get the job done. I felt like I totally deserved a contract. They just didn't do their homework. Dana White, Sean Shelby, I think Paul Felder was the one that did the most homework on me. But if those guys watched my fights, if those guys looked at the way that I talk and speak to people and the branding that I've done for, Kenneth Cross, the Boss, MMA, like the way that I put myself out there, they would have snagged me up. And so now my goal is to really, really make them feel like they missed the opportunity right there, because I did my job. I beat an undefeated guy. I went 15 minutes. I showed you that I can show up. I'll make weight twice in a row. I'll be there. I didn't even have a name the first time I went out to Vegas. I still went out to Vegas, and I did my part. I get that the opportunities for me, but we were also the feature fight. And I just always, like, I stood up with a high chest, and I did exactly what, my coaches told me to do, and what little bit they told me, the UFC, I took, and I went there, and I just was professional with all of it. So not getting the contract, it was a shock. It was bizarre. It was a weird feeling that I hadn't had before. I understand why. It's just, it sucks. So you got to just kind of move on with it. You got to take the good from the bad and move on with it.
How has COVID affected your training, if at all?
I didn't train for the first like 2 months at least. I was just playing Warzone, and my coach was real. He was real thorough with, you know, keeping people out of the gym, and he just had a newborn baby and everything. So we were just all. I was taking the time to heal my body, and I was laying floors every day. So I was still working a 9 to 5, and then I was kind of just like mentally preparing for what was next. I knew I just knocked out a couple #1 guys around the state, so I knew I was sitting good. And when a fight opportunity would present itself, I'll get in the gym and I'll go crazy. So, you know, I still ended up getting a 7-week training camp for the 4th before it fell through. And I was mentally, physically, spiritually prepared, you know, and I was going to lay it on the line right there. It would have been a lot better of a performance, you know, 2 weeks prior. But yeah, I mean, COVID's cool. It was whatever. I'm ready for it to now, not being in the UFC, being a fighter, you don't want COVID around, because it's hard to get these local promotions to even, you know, throw fights that aren't falling through. My opponents keep getting COVID and falling off. So it does suck.
And what's next for you? Are you going to be planning on pursuing a shot in the UFC again, or do you feel like you'll try and go to a different organization now?
I'm trying to fight for the highest bidder right now. I'm a free agent. I think I'm gonna. I mean, it can always change. If the UFC wants to give me another Contender Series shot, it's 5-5. I'm hearing people getting a lot more in other promotions. So to the highest bidder, and I kind of want to make my own blueprint right now of being this, you know, #7 in the world, unsigned free agent. In my mind, like, I'm a hot commodity right now. I want to go out, and obviously I don't work anymore, so I'm ready to train my ass off, and so that I can show the striking, and I'm not fatigued and all that good stuff. But I'm gonna show the world a blueprint of not being in the UFC and still making more than all these guys, because I'm looking at the UFC right now. Everyone that's getting that contract, it's not a huge contract, and they're all such good fighters, talented, young, hungry animals, all just colliding, clashing for that top 15 spot. I'm going to like chill on the outskirts, fight Bellator, LFA, try to go around and fight these other promotions and make just as much or more money, hopefully, the way that I see it. We'll see. And then, you know, knock out a few names, create my brand, make it a little bit bigger outside the UFC, and then just jump right in and fight a top 15 guy. Skip over all that, you know, in the grind right there, because that's tough. You're going to have to go through a bunch of killers. And it might have been a blessing in disguise for me not to get that contract. So now I can kind of just scoot around and go to the big names, you know, and not take damage, keep that longevity alive.
That's all we have for you today, Kenny. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day, and we really look forward to your next fight.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
See ya.